When you're working on a transaction involving multiple representation, one of your obligations is to provide the client the necessary disclosure forms. For buyer clients, use Form 326. That's the multiple representation, buyer acknowledgement and consent disclosure. At the top, enter the buyer's name, your brokerage name, and the property address. Then have the buyer initial the bubble that fits your specific situation. Let's break down the 4 options. Number 1, multiple representation and brokerage representation. This applies when a brokerage operates under a brokerage representation model. And remember, in this model, every agent is assumed to have knowledge of every client. If the brokerage represents both the buyer and seller, even with 2 different agents, it's multiple representation. And note that since Zolo operates under designated representation, you probably won't use this very often. The second option is multiple representation and designated representation. This occurs when a brokerage operates under designated representation, and that means that they assign a specific agent to a specific client. Under this model, you are required to maintain confidentiality and to act in the best interest of your client. However, if you are the designated representative for both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction, you would enter into multiple representation and you must initial this bubble. The third option is multiple representation and designated representation and brokerage representation. This sounds like a mouthful, but basically this applies when one party is under designated representation and the other is under brokerage representation. For example, if you are the designated representative of the buyer, but the seller is being represented by the brokerage as a whole without a specific designated agent, then you would initial this bubble. And finally, option 4 is multiple representation and competing buyers. You would have your client initial here when you are the designated representative for multiple buyers competing for the same property. So once that's complete, you would then use the comment section to clarify any unique details about your representation. Have the buyer initial the final bubble to confirm their consent to the multiple representation. And finally, sign the bottom yourself and have your buyer sign as well. Now, Form 325 is for the seller client, and it's nearly identical to Form 326 with only one key difference. There's no bubble for competing buyers. Since competing buyers only impacts the buyer side, that option is omitted. Otherwise, fill it out exactly as we did with Form 326 for the buyer client.